All right, this is going to be my second attempt at recording this video. This is going to be the first video on the channel, or should be, on the new channel, which I have yet to name at the point of this recording. But so what I wanted to do is I wanted to have my first videos be where I stand politically. So if you're coming into the channel, whatever, I'm going to set it up in a playlist, and then that way anybody has any questions about where I stand, there you go. And maybe I'll update it every year or something like that. But so the first, so I was going to kind of just basically write like a little essay or like a bullet point of all the different things I wanted to touch on, and kind of explain where I am. But I didn't really know how to structure it, what particular issues to touch on, that sort of thing. So I figured I found this website that basically just has a bunch of issues that people vote on, whatever. And I figured I would just go through each section. So I'd do a video on each section. So I'm not going to do this all in one video. I figured that would be way too long. But I'll do each section. So social issues, healthcare, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. Look at all these. Oh my God. Maybe some of these smaller ones will combine whatever we got to do. Science issues, environmental issues, education. Okay. So that being said, I'm going to start off prefacing this with two things, or whatever. So I would define myself as an anarcho-capitalist. So two parts to that. I'm an anarchist, which means I don't believe in. I don't think we should have any formal government. And then capitalists, obviously, I'm pro free markets. And so the freest markets would be one without any government at all. So let's start out on this list of election issues. So I guess the first one would be gay marriage. Do you support the legalization of same-sex marriage? Yeah, so I don't believe in the government having anything to do with marriage, obviously. So I think the history of this is like the reason that the government even gives out marriage licenses was originally so that you didn't have undesirable pairings. So you don't want to have a black man marry a white woman or something like that. And so that way they have a mechanism of control, and they can deny a marriage license to people that they don't want to be together. So yeah, obviously marry whoever the hell you want. I don't care. LGBT adoption rights. So here's where I come down on this is I don't think that there should be any anti-discrimination laws, particularly on like businesses and stuff like that. Like obviously if we're going to have a government, I don't think the government should be discriminating against anyone. They should treat them all the same if we're going to have one. But businesses, private individuals should be allowed to serve or not serve whoever the hell they want. And so I think, if you run an adoption agency and you want to adopt to gay parents, yes, do that. If you want to be like, say that you have some like Christian adoption agency that doesn't believe in that, and okay, cool, don't go to them for the kids you want to adopt. Simple as that. All right, so abortion, very complex. So here's where, okay, so this one's really complicated, obviously. So here's my main problem with abortion, right? If if you're going to set a law, it cannot be arbitrary, because if you set it arbitrarily, it can be changed arbitrarily, um, and there's no backing to it, right? There's no reason why it should be one thing or another. It's just uh, like the adult being 18. Is there some magical thing that changes when you're 18? Why can I do these things when I'm 18, but one day before my birthday, right? I can't do those things. It's completely arbitrary. It can be changed at any time, okay? Um, and you don't want that to be the case when you're talking about potentially murdering a baby, right? Um, so for me, if abortion is going to be allowed, I think the limit should be set at 20 weeks. And this is based on at 20 weeks, the fetus, the unborn child, develops a nervous system, at which point they can feel pain. So after 20 weeks, they can feel pain. So therefore, after 20 weeks in the pregnancy, if you abort the child and the child feels pain as a result, I would classify that as pretty inhumane. And so I think post 20 weeks should be definitely illegal. And then I could be swayed either way. I'm really on the fence with this one, and I think it's one of those things where it's like eventually I'll probably be just totally pro-life or something like that. But right now, I'm totally willing to compromise on 20 weeks. But probably once I have a child, it'll probably change to I'll be a pro-life person. But because it's still where I'm drawing the line is still kind of arbitrary. Because really, I think this is just like a technology issue, right? Because it's like, just limit it to when the child is viable. When at viability, that's when it should be illegal. Well, viability can change at any point in time, and they're not always right on when they think it's like. I've heard countless stories where the doctor is like, oh, the child might not make it because it's prematurely born or whatever, and they end up living a happy and healthy and wonderful life. Okay, so the point of viability is so arbitrary. That's the most arbitrary metric you could use. And so eventually, I think, we'll be able to just completely incubate children outside of the womb. And I think at that point, this argument will finally be obsolete. But until that point, we're kind of just going to be arguing until we have the technology, pretty much. Planned Parenthood funding, I don't think there should be a government, so I don't think that the government should fund Planned Parenthood. I'm a taxation as theft person. I don't see a difference. So any taxes, any more taxes, more theft. Marital rape. Yeah. Any violation of somebody's rights, you're violating somebody's ownership of themselves. If they say, hey, no trespassing, then no trespassing. And if you violate that, well, you should be removed by whatever means necessary, and you should be punished the same as anybody else. Religious freedom. Should a business be able to deny service to a customer if the request conflicts with the owner's beliefs? Like I said, I don't think there should be any anti-discrimination discrimination laws. I think if you hate black people, you shouldn't have to give them food. I don't know. If the black person comes into your restaurant and you're like, hey, no blacks allowed. Because first of all, you shouldn't force anyone to do something they don't want, right? Forced service is pretty I mean, what's the difference between that and slavery? Like, I don't really see it. Um, and second of all, if somebody hated me, why the hell would I want to give them money? This is what I've never understood about these anti-discrimination laws. Is like, okay, this guy hates black people, uh, and he runs this burger shop, right? If I was black, I'd rather know that this guy hates black people. Tell everybody, hey, this guy hates black people. Don't fucking go there. Don't give him your money. I know he's got the best burgers in town, right? But he's not he won't even let black people in there. He's kind of an asshole, okay? So that would be, I find that scenario way preferable to this guy holds this inside. Maybe I'm a black customer. He spits in black customers' burgers or whatever, but he's forced to serve these people. He's profiting off of, I'm like supporting this guy, not knowing that this guy's a complete asshole. Um, and that maybe he spits in my burgers just because he doesn't like the color of my skin or whatever. Um, yeah, I'd rather just not support that guy. I'd rather know who he is and not support him than um, force him to make me a burger. Whatever. Um, gun buyback, obviously not. I like I said, I'm an anarchist. I'm totally gun rights absolutist. I think at this point, gun control is obsolete because of 3D printing. So basically, no background checks, no anything. So I don't see what the point of anybody can print a gun um, without any serial number, a registry, anything, any country. So how are you going to delete the cat files off of the internet? I don't see how what a gun buyback is going to do to that. Racial sensitivity training. Should federal government require racial sensitivity training for employees? If you find a method that is going to, if you find a training that is going to, so first of all, federal government, no. Just no. As a business for racial insensitivity training, I've done these trainings before at companies, like just small little online courses. The ones I've been through, I couldn't even tell you what they said. Probably just, I mean, it's all been the same generic stuff, like, um, you know, don't make other people feel bad. Did you know that people don't like it when you hate them for the color of their skin? Cool. Well, thanks for the update. Thanks for keeping me posted. This has been very helpful. Yeah, that sort of thing. I mean, it doesn't seem like it's really serving much of a purpose. So, I mean, if you find something that's going to yield positive results for your team, that's awesome. If it's yielding positive results, it's yielding positive results. However, I think a lot of this stuff pits everybody against each other and really emphasizes drawing lines based on identity rather than us all just kind of being the same. And, you know, those differences aren't particularly important. It kind of emphasizes those differences instead, which I not personally, not really my thing. All right, Confederate flag. Should states be allowed to display the Confederate flag on government property? I think we shouldn't have had a civil war. I think we should have just allowed them to secede. An economy based on slavery is going to be an inferior one anyways, so why not just let them, if they're going to be poor and eventually probably want to rejoin the union and be like, hey guys, that was a mistake. Like, obviously slavery doesn't work too well, so can you let us in? I think they should have been allowed to secede. Whatever. If you want to display a Confederate flag to show the pride. I obviously am anti-slavery. I'm anti-racism. Um, very bold positions, I know. But if you wanted to, especially for the people who are like anti-government, I'm obviously pretty sympathetic to anti-government and leaving the system that we have. So, um, I'm more sympathetic to them doing it for those reasons, for being like, hey, like these guys were just trying to do their own thing and they were crushed for it. Because not all of, a lot of it was about keeping slavery, obviously. Um, but there was some states' rights stuff in there. And since I'm sympathetic to anti central government uh, arguments, I'm a little more sympathetic. Um, but obviously, no slavery. And why do I even have to say that? Transgender athletes. I think they should just have, to be honest with you, I think they should just have a separate league for transgender athletes, and they can all just compete against each other, and we can all be happy. Because obviously the lines are so blurry, and it's just so impossible to sort out that, I mean, until you guys find the science to even things out, it doesn't seem to really make sense to have them all compete in the same league. Or even better, have a league that's sort of gender neutral or whatever. Um, and you just have athletes that voluntarily choose to compete. And so if you are, if you know that this person's transgender and they have these particular characteristics, and you're like, okay, I don't care. I think we're regardless equally matched or whatever, and you want to compete against those people, that should be totally allowed. And I'm totally for that. Um, Government mandates. Should government insurance providers be required to offer free birth control? That's so outside of our assured health insurance providers. No, obviously. Okay. Gender identity. Should gender identity be added to anti-discrimination laws? I've already gone over that. I don't think anti-discrimination laws should exist. So there you go. Yeah, I'm sure these all of these sections, by the second half of the thing, it's probably going to speed right through because I will have gone over a lot of the issues. Women in combat. I don't think we should be in any of these wars. I think, if the military is going to have standards, they should just or uphold a certain set of standards, and that should be it. And just as long as you have the standards, and if they meet the standards, totally cool, whatever. I'm not particularly animated about particular policies within the military, because I don't think we should be in any of these wars. I don't think we should have been in any of the wars, including and after the Civil War. So before the Civil War, I literally do not know enough about any of that to even begin to debate whether or not we should have been in like the War of 1812. I don't even know what happened in the War of 1812. So whatever. I don't know enough history, okay? Safe spaces. Should universities provide trigger warnings and safe spaces for students? Look, I'm not an SJW kind of guy. Totally not my thing. But I think there should be universities that provide that, because obviously there's students that want that. The problem is the university system in this country is such a cartel, and really you have to be able to be to be able to actually give a degree that other organizations will respect as an actual degree. You have to go through this crazy like certification agency in the government, and it's just like a total walled garden where only like it's if you're not a not going to conform to the traditional, um, it leaves very little room for experimentation in the kinds of schools that I would want to see. Um, so that's the problem. Is it what if you get it to infect all these universities? There's no other game in town. Um, so because this is the kind of thing that somebody I really like to follow, and I really recommend if you've never heard of him, is Thaddeus Russell. Um, love his podcast. I'm almost finished with his book, Renegade History of the United States of America. Also very good. Another recommendation. But something he was talking about, because he also has his own online university where because he is a PhD historian from Columbia. He's uh, so he's taught in colleges before. He's taught real, actual university classes. Um, and so he set up his own university, online university, has a bunch of all sorts of academics and non-academics, just people with expertise and interesting takes on subjects. And he has courses from all of them. Another one, Scott Horton, on he's got courses on there on foreign policy and that sort of thing. Foreign policy on like, yeah, I guess U.S. foreign policy, but like the Middle East and the wars and that sort of thing. But what was I gonna? He was talking about how he actually wanted to look into being able to give people degrees or credits or something, so you could get more value out of the university. And this is what he discovered: is it's impossible if you're not gonna play ball and do things the correct way. Then they will not. It's not possible. All right. Um, Gender workplace diversity. Should businesses required to have women on their board of directors? Of course not. Like I said, of course not. Women who, like, I don't think, yeah, there just shouldn't be any laws. A lot of these things where the yeah, whatever. I just won't go further into it. Hate speech. Hate speech be protected by the First Amendment. I think hate speech is free speech. There is no difference. Everything's free speech. Like I'm a very minimal in terms of punishment. You have to have violated, if as long as you're not violating somebody's rights, there shouldn't be forcible punishment upon you, right? If you obviously, no laws doesn't mean no rules. So within privately owned spaces, those privately owned spaces will have their own rules, right? And so you can enforce whatever rules you want, and you just say, hey, just don't come in here if you don't want to abide by these rules. Totally cool. But in terms of whether or not you should be punished by a state or a government or something like that, it should literally just be for violating somebody else's rights. First Amendment, separation of church and state by removing. This is such a non-issue for me. It's like I don't believe there should be a government. So, should they be allowed to wear? Another thing, like religion, I don't care. Do whatever you want. To me, it doesn't really matter as long as you're not hurting people. Euthanasia. Should terminally ill patients be allowed to end their lives via assisted suicide? Yeah, I think so. I haven't heard arguments on either side of this issue. From like somebody coming from my perspective, like from an anarchist perspective, should euthanasia be? But I don't see why not. If you're at the end of your life, you're in a lot of pain, whatever, and you think that's the best route, then by all means. I don't see. It seems cruel to force somebody to continue living when that being said, I don't want it to be easier for people to kill themselves. I think generally speaking, unless you have a terminal illness, suicide should pretty much never be an option. Like literally, unless you are definitely going to die soon, then yeah, I don't know. Not my thing. I don't think anybody should. It should ever really be an option for you. But there you go. So that was social issues. I guess next is going to be healthcare, which I'm going to kind of breeze through this one because a lot of this is just down to like legislation, whereas I think there should just be a complete free market in healthcare. And so arguing over this sort of stuff is going to be kind of stupid. But that I'll probably combine. Oh, domestic policy is huge. Let's see. Let's combine medical and healthcare and education and science. I'll combine these. Healthcare, education, and science. Don't let me forget that. All right. Well, I think that's going to be it for this video. We'll see how this goes. This is the first video, and we'll see if we keep going. Have a good one. Subscribe if you like. If you subscribe, definitely hit the like button. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. We're crushing it. All right. Have a good one.